In business, there are 7 areas you must master to become successful. The 7 areas are shown on this slide. And on the next slide, I will just show you the 3 levels of these 7 areas. The first level and most important level is your foundation. The foundation consists of 2 things: your platform, so to say the soapbox you stand on, whom you're servicing with what, and your promises. The promises are whatever you're selling. When you have that foundation in place, the next that you should do is look at operations. Operations are the 4 pillars. It is the promote pillar, which is marketing. It is the persuade pillar, which is sales. The third pillar is perform, which is delivering whatever you're selling to your customer, giving them the benefit of what you're selling. And the fourth pillar is protect and pamper, which is basically customer service and making sure your customers stay with you forever. On top of these 2 areas, you have a third very important area, and that is optimization. Optimization have one core area underneath, and that is profit. Basically, you're working on your business to optimize it and make it as good as possible. Now we will dig into one of the areas. So the core business areas, we are looking at platform. We are in this video defining platform and looking at 12 questions, or a dozen questions you should ask yourself before you start your business. So we are looking at the platform. Let me get on screen here. And basically, it is the foundation for your business, and it can make or break your business and your success. What do I mean by that? If you do this wrong, you will have trouble finding customers and selling whatever it is you want to sell to them. If you do it right, you will find out that everything else, all the other 6 areas, will be much easier. So this is where you define the what, the who, the why, and the how of your business. You are founding the success here by defining your sweet spot and the bullseye you're looking for. More specifically, what you will be doing is looking at what to sell and to what niche, what people. What I mean by that is you need to define who your ideal customers are and who they are not. Is it for single men, or is it for married women? Is it for young people, old people, professionals, or amateurs? You need to be very clear here. What you also need to do in your platform is defining your unique leverage or advantage, the unfair advantage, some would call it. What is it only you can do that nobody else can do? Say you are a chef. What is the specific dish you have that nobody else can make? Or you're a carpenter and you can do special kitchens nobody else can do. Or you are a lawyer that have specific knowledge about something. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you find what you are very, very good skilled at that might be something unique, and then you can beat on it, or you can do leverage. If you don't have any leverage, you will be like everybody else. You will have a Me Too offering, and Me Too offerings are a bit more difficult to sell. Now again, it can be sold if there's enough demand for it. Example, there can be many fast food restaurants in the same area, in the same town. It just depends how many people are looking for fast food. And it's basically, it's a demand and supply thing, how unique you need to be. You also need to find out, how do you make money? What business model is serving you? To give you an example, Facebook's business model is give the product for free to all the users, billions of users, but sell advertising to advertisers and sell data about the users to advertisers and others and make money that way. There is this saying that if you're not paying for a product, then you are the product. And this is the business model they have. Gillette, on the other hand, are selling very reasonable or cheap razor handles, but the razor blades are expensive, and when you have the handle, you need to have Gillette razor heads. In this platform, you also need to define who are your customers, how will you win them, how will you present yourself and position yourself so that they find your offer attractive. You also need to know how to make your business rock solid and how to minimize the risk. Typically, minimizing risk is creating a limited liability company, but there might be other ways. If you're starting a service company, for instance, there are normally not very much risk involved in that. And the final part I will mention in this video now is you need to look at how you spend your time. Because when you're starting your own business, you're basically wearing all the hats. And that means anything that needs to be done in your business have to be done by you. And there's simply not enough time to do everything. So how you spend your time is critical. Now, if we move on to the 12 questions, the dozen questions, the first one you should ask yourself is, why will you start a business? What is the purpose of starting a business? Do you just want to make an extra buck? Do you want to replace your full-time job? Do you want to have a business where you don't need to work much? Do you want to have a business where you can hire people? Do you just want to change the world? Do you want to have a better life for yourself and for others? Do you want to employ people? Do you want to employ certain kind of people? Do you want to help certain kind of people? Now, why is that more important? Well, it's important because your mission or your purpose is what will drive you even when it gets hard. And from time to time, business do get hard. The next thing you should ask yourself is, why now? Why not earlier? Why not wait? Why is now the right time for you to start your business? What I have found myself is, and what many of my customers are saying is, they wish they had started earlier, but they were afraid of failure, or they felt like it wasn't the right time. It felt like that they had more to learn, they had more to do, or they had other commitments, so they couldn't do it. When in reality, there is no right time. There's no point in time where all the light bulbs on the road, all the light signals will be green. You just have to start. That said, it's a good idea to have some idea of how to do it and how to move forward, have a kind of plan. And this is basically why you are here, or at least I hope that's why you are here, because I will happily share that with you. When you have this, why start a business and why now, the next thing you should look about is, what is the idea? What would you be selling to people? And who would want it from you? I call it your audience or your suspects. You're suspecting they might be interested. The more specific you can be here, the better. I mentioned the word niche earlier. So if you're saying, I will only sell to professional basketball players that are male and have finished college and are living in this area and, then you're extremely specific. There might not be many of those, but you know exactly whom you are targeting and you know where to find them. Which is the next question actually, where can you find them? Because one thing is to know whom you would like to sell to. The next thing is, how can you actually get in contact with them? How can you let them know about what you are offering? If you have no way of letting them know, it's very, very difficult to actually get any sales. And talking about sales, well, why would the people in your audience want to buy it? Why would they buy what you're selling? Typically, it's because they will get a better life if they buy it. Either they are missing out on something, they are having a pain, or they want some gain. So two very traditional ways of seeing this is you move people from pain to gain. And by doing that, you are actually giving them a better quality of life. The next thing you should ask is, if they want to buy it, well, why is it they should buy it from you? What is it that makes you special, or your product or your service or your promise, as I call it, special? Why would they want it from you and not somebody else? When you know all this, the next thing you should ask yourself is, well, what would they pay for it? What is it worth for them? And on that note, that is value. Value is very individual. So for some people, having a Mercedes-Benz car has a very high value. It gives them a lot of pleasure. And for others, a car is just a transportation means, so the value would be less. When you know all this, then you should look at what is needed for you to make your business and promises happen. Do you need to have an agreement with a supplier or manufacturer? Do you need to be an agent for someone? Do you need to have an office? Do you need to have a shop? What is needed to make this happen? More specifically, this is a part of what others would call your business model. I don't believe in making a written business plan of 100 pages with who's the team, how are we going to do what, because most of the time that's a waste of time. But answering these questions will give you a pretty good idea. I have a more structured way of doing it. It's called the business model canvas, and we will go through this later in the training. But basically, what is needed to make this happen? Do you need specific employees? Do you need some skills yourself? Do you need some facilities, some assets, some agreements? What is needed? The next you should ask yourself is, how are you going to perform your promise? How are you going to give it to your customers? If you're a coach, would it be a physical coaching session? Would it be an online coaching session? Would it be emails back and forth? Would it be cheat sheets? Would it be manuals, books, videos? What is the delivery format? If you're in a restaurant, it might be, what is the restaurant setting? What is the ambience? How is the food prepared? What are the ingredients? Are there any other things around what you're doing that will make it a good experience? If you are a handyman, or you're doing, say you're cleaning a house, how would you go about and do the cleaning? How would you make sure that the customers find that it is actually worth what you are charging? And that brings me to the next question. How do you actually make money doing this? And making money is more than just income, because in order to produce, in order to perform your promise, you might have some costs. It might be to staff, it might be to facilities, it might be to a car, it might be to equipment, it might be to insurance, it might be to many other things. So how do we actually make money from this? Coming back to the Facebook example from earlier, Facebook is making money by selling advertising. That's one of the business models. And finally, the last question here is, how do you minimize risk doing all this? How can you do this so if you are completely mistaken or something catastrophic happens in your life and you have to step aside from the business, that it won't bankrupt you personally? How do you incorporate your business in a way where you have the flexibility and you have the minimized risk? So these are the questions to ask yourself in the platform. And don't worry, there are much more information here. We have full trainings about this, and we will take you through each part of this step, more specifically in the Bullseye Business Builder, that are looking at 8 specific areas where we'll go into details and defining all of these questions. Thank you for now. Welcome to Core Business Areas Promise. Promises is your products and services. Let's jump into it. It's part of the foundation, and it's built on top of your platform, because your promises should be something desirable from your audience or the platform you have established already. So let's jump into it. It doesn't matter if you're selling services or products. You're selling a promise that the customer will get some kind of result. If you're selling an iPhone, the result would be that their life would be better, they can do more on the road. If you are selling a knife, they can cut something better. If you're selling cleaning, they will have a clean home. It doesn't matter, but their life will be better because there's a before and an after. Now, the thing about promises is that the wrong promise to the right customer will fail. If you're selling wedding dresses to married men, it will fail. But in the same way, the right promise to the wrong customer will also fail. So to give the same example, if you're selling the best wedding dresses in the world, but you're selling it to married women, you might not be that successful. If you're selling to engaged women, you might be extremely successful if you have a good quality, fair priced wedding dress. So when you're defining your promises, what you need to do is you need to create your promises and optimize your promise mix. meaning you should have as associated items that you can sell also, or maybe even supplementary items or complementary items. When you have created your promises, you need to package them so it's clear, understandable, and attractive, so that your audience can see, wow, this is for me. You also need to position it so that it is different and the value is clear for your audience. Value is a personal thing, but you can do a lot of things when you know who your audience is, what their preferences might be, what language they are speaking, and what is important to them, so that you can position it right. Now, if you have the right packaging, the right promise, and the right positioning, the next thing that can trip up things is the price point. So you need to find the right price for what you're selling. In other words, the price value need to be fantastic. And finally, there are many other things to do, but finally what I will mention in this presentation is you need to present it so that it becomes irresistible. This includes preempting any objections. Typical objections is money, price, effort, and time. So by looking at what might be reasons the customer will say, nah, not for me. It could be if you're selling houses. It might be it's the wrong location, it might be it's the wrong size, it might be that the interior is not the way it was the customer would like it to be. So if you already know, because you have an idea of your audience, if you already know that there's something that might trip up, you have the opportunity to preempt it. And this is part of making it irresistible. So you can stack the value and you can minimize all the perceived issues and problems. So ultimately, this is an alignment process. When you have your promise and you have nailed it and you are able to present it in a clear, concise way, succinct way, where you are delivering the value in the presentation, you will find that it is much easier to sell. So this is promises in a nutshell. Core business areas: promote. Promoting is about becoming known, liked, and trusted. We need to talk about what you need to do to promote your stuff. So let's jump into it. So promote is part of the operations. It's the first and most important step of operations. Other people call this marketing. In marketing, you should be aware that you can have the best promise in the world, but it is worthless if nobody knows about it. So promotion is the key is the remedy to this. You will reveal your irresistible promises to the world. Now, promotion builds directly upon your foundation. That is the platform where you defined your sweet spot, your leverage, your business model, and your ideal customers. And on your promise, where you created an irresistible packaged, priced, and positioned product. Promotion is adding marketing and sales copy and tactics in order to make people react. So there is the AIDA model, that is attention, interest, desire, and action. So in promotion, this is basically what you want to do. Promotion is also never ending, because in order to grow your business, you need to keep attracting leads. Now, even if you have the best promise in the world, there will be some churn. There will be some customers that are buying only once and never again. Or for some reason, even if they love your product and they will stay until they die, they will still die at some time. So you will need to replace customers. In some businesses, you are selling very high ticket stuff, say a house. It's unlikely you will sell a high priced house to the same customer more than once. Unless, of course, they are building a portfolio of houses. In the same way, if you're selling very high ticket household appliances like dishwashers or washing machines or similar, there can be far and long between the sales. But because of that, you need to focus on attracting new leads, and therefore your marketing need to be never ending. Now, there are many ways to promote, and you need to choose what works for you. Again, as I said, there are multiple of ways to promote. You can do paid ads, which means you're paying to get eyeballs. You're paying for somebody to see your advertising and hopefully contact you. Or you can do non-paid ads, which would be social media, or it would be being present where the customers are. And there are many other ways of doing it. I will go into more details in the actual training, but for now, it's just to give you the overview of what promote entails. Now, if we take a step further, what is it you need to do? Well, what you want to do is understand your market, target the ideal customers as cheaply as you can, in as many ways as you can handle and can afford. Then you need to craft compelling messages to grab their attention, interest, desire, and drive action. The action would be to buy your product. To do that, you would need to design optimal customer journeys or funnels. What happens in step 1? What happens in step 2? What are the customer going to do? And you need to be persistent, because most sales happen after you have had multiple contacts. It will take time. And to do that, you would typically need structures and systems in place. You would need to segment, so you know these customers or these leads have been exposed to this, and these have been exposed to that, or these might be interested in this, and these might be interested in that. This also means you can have different messages for hot traffic, people that have already heard about you and might be interested, and cold traffic, people that have never heard about you before, see you for the first time. Some call this top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. We go into much more details in the magnetic marketing model. You would also need some kind of automation to do the heavy lifting for you and do some of the follow-up. Most sales happens after 7 contacts. You also need to track what works and kill what doesn't. In other words, in marketing, it's a lot about testing, experimenting, and making mistakes simply. In the old days, the marketing people said, well, half of our marketing costs are lost. It's a waste, but we don't know which half, so we can't change it. The good news is nowadays, especially with the online media and online marketing, it's very easy to track what works and what doesn't, and kill what doesn't and do more of what works. As an example, if you've heard of Mr. Beast, he is doing YouTube videos, and he has more than 250 million subscribers to his channel. He's testing his thumbnails because on YouTube, the small picture you see is the quality of that picture is actually directly related to if you click the picture, if you click the video and watch it. So for some of his videos, he have more than 50 different thumbnails that he's testing out to see which one is working better. Even professional marketers can have hundreds of ads that are dwindled down to maybe 10 ads that actually work. Now again, the more experience you get, the better you know your target group, the better your promise, the more irresistible, the easier this task is. But what I'm saying is, it's still to a high degree experimentation, and because of that, you would want systems and structures and automation in place so that you can get the best quality for the biggest effect for the smallest budget. So this is just a short introduction to promote. I'm happy to be here with you, and I hope that you will realize all your dreams, and marketing is a core ingredient in everything you do to make your business successful. Welcome to Core Business Areas Persuade. In this area, we'll look at the process of converting leads to customers and how you can become a sales star. Let's jump into it. Persuade is the second pillar in the operationals area. Promotion will generate leads, but persuasion will convert those leads into paying customers. This step is the most important in any business anywhere in the world, because without these steps, you have no sales, no customers, therefore no income, which means the company will go bankrupt. It's just a matter of time. The bad news is most entrepreneurs don't like to sell and don't know how, because you have never learned it. Now here's the thing, selling becomes very easy when you have the right promise, presented in the right way, to the right lead, at the right time. Why do I say at the right time? Well, it's because if I'm looking for a house and somebody is presenting a house to me, it is the right house, it is presented in the right way, and it's presented to me that I'm in the market, and I have time to go and see it. Then it would be the right time. Now, if I just bought a house, I might still be the right lead, but I'm no longer in the market, so it's no longer the right time. Or if I'm in the middle of a meeting and somebody is trying to call me with something, I might not be at the right time. There's a saying that at any point in time, there are always 3% that are in the market for anything, and 97% that are not in the market right now or don't know they're in the market. So you have the opportunity to educate those 97% and capture more than the 3%. But if you capture them at the right time, they would be among the 3%. And the right time might be a month later. It might have been a month earlier. It depends. Example, if your car just broke down, you might be thinking about getting some kind of agreement with a garage or getting a truck service agreement so that you can be towed if needed. But if it's a year ago, it happened last time, or it never happened to you, you might never ever have had the thought or know that it can actually happen. When you look at what I have put on the slide right now, to sum it up, what is on the slide is, well, the better your foundation and your promotion activities, the easier the sales process is. Nowadays, with online marketing, it might be possible to actually combine it, meaning that your online marketing is actually also doing the persuasion part for you. If it's possible or not depends on what promise you have, how high demand there is for your services or your products, and the price point. Because if you're selling something for $1 million, it is unlikely people would buy it without talking to someone. Whereas if you're selling something for $1, it's very likely that they would just buy it because the risk is very, very low. Now, in the persuasion process, which is sales, you need to become a sales star. And in order to become a sales star, what you will need to do is basically 4 things. First, you will need to set yourself up for success. And that means sell to yourself first. I've heard so many entrepreneurs, startups, business owners say, but I don't know how to sell and I feel stupid talking to people about what I have. So here's the thing, if you don't believe in it, if you don't believe in the value you're bringing, you will never ever convince anybody. Actually, one of the biggest parts of training a sales team, if you have one, is for them to see the value, for them to understand the value of what you're selling. Customer testimonials can be really, really powerful. So if you have already sold to someone and they are over ecstatic, you know that what you have works, and it's easy to convince yourself, this is what I have, this is great. Now, the second part in this setting yourself up for success is to be able to communicate succinct, clearly, and powerful to your leads, to your prospects, to those that are interested in buying. The more precisely you can explain to them why this is right for them, by the way, only if it is right for them, the more likely it is that they will actually purchase from you. You need therefore to elicit and understand what they need and want. Earlier I called this for pains and gains. What is it they want to get rid of and what is it they want to obtain? And your job is basically to align your promises to those needs and wants, pains and gains, and obliterate any objections even before they arise. If you're a real estate agent or realtor and you know that it's a crappy kitchen, there's no need for the prospect that are coming to look at the house to say it's a crappy kitchen. You can say that yourself. Well, probably not with those words. You might say, well, as you can see, this is an original kitchen and it will not be that expensive to change it if you don't like it. In that way, you have basically preempted an objection, and you can, by phrasing it that way, you can actually say to the possible prospect, well, you have the option to do your own thing because you're not really paying for this kitchen. The price is set based on a kitchen in this standard. When you have aligned your promises and removed the objections, you're much closer to a sale, and you should ask for the order. So basically what you need to do is close the deal and leverage the sale so that you can get future sales. It might be, well, if we're doing this together today, I expect you to be very happy, and I hope that you will then refer me to friends and family or business partners, whatever might be relevant for the business you're in. So persuade to becoming a sales star is one of the most critical things you can do in your business. The better you are at sales, the better you are at presenting your promise in a convincing, succinct, clear way, the more easy it is to write marketing copy, to convince customers, to convince prospects, to get raving fan customers and partners and employees. Now, here's a small thing you might not have thought about. You have actually been selling your whole life. What do I mean by that? Well, when you got your first job or your first girlfriend or boyfriend, or if you have children, you know that you are selling the idea of they going to bed, or you're selling yourself, you're presenting yourself in a way where you are attractive for an employer or a partner or somebody else. But you've probably not been thinking about it as sales. So if you look at what it is you have been doing in your past, you will find out that selling is actually not that difficult. Especially not if you have a great promise and you believe in it. So that's what we are working on in the Sales Star system. This is just a small introduction to Persuasion. Thank you for now. Core business areas: perform. We will talk about why quality and the process matters, and flawless fulfillment. So let's jump into it. Perform is the third pillar in the operations platform. And basically what you need to look at is you need to perform your promise, which is fulfilling what you promised them and give it to them. This is probably where you shine. This is where you're an expert already, which is why you want to start your own business. But here's what you need to understand. There are two things you need to understand. If you drop the ball, you will most likely lose the customer, perhaps forever. But if you wow the customer, they will spread the word and you will get free promotion. To obtain flawless fulfillment, you need to manage their customers' expectations to results they can expect, to the effort that is required on their part, and to the timeline to obtain the results. A good example could be if you are a fitness personal trainer. People might want to lose 20 kilos and they might want it in a month. But your job then is to tell them, well, you can expect to lose 5 kilos in a month if you go to the gym every day and if you eat this diet and if you do this. Actually, you should have told them things like that before they bought. But it is extremely clear when you're performing your promise that you make sure that they understand what they can expect. What is the path, so to say, to benefit from your promise? And what is the clear plan to get from where they are to where they want to be? Not only that, you actually need to help them, nudge them to get the results. You need to make sure that they are actually utilizing your product and they are getting the results. Because if they don't, you will not have them as a customer for life, and you will not be able to ascend them to become a raving fan or a loyal customer that will keep buying from you. Now, if you perform beyond their expectations, you will have wonderful customers that will be over happy. To do that, the easiest way is to under-promise and over-deliver. Now, this is kind of the opposite of what salespeople do. Most salespeople over-promise and then under-deliver. And that gives this weird experience for the customer where they are not getting what they bought. They thought they bought something different. Now, this is, in my opinion, a recipe for disaster. What you need to do is make sure that what you promised them in the sales process is something you can deliver, and then give them more. Just 1% more, that's it. But if you consistently over-deliver, they will be very, very happy. As I say here, this has consequences for your marketing and your sales materials, because you need to be sure that you can deliver what you promise, or you might never ever get a reference customer. I know of a company that had hundreds of thousands of customers, but very, very few reference customers, because what they sold were not really what they promised. It worked, but it was just not as good as they promised. And because of that, the customers, they could use it, but they didn't really feel this wow. Now, you need to present yourself as a professional in every touch point before the sale in order to get the sale, but also after the sale in order to keep the customer's faith in you. To do that, it's a good idea to follow a process or a checklist for what do we do now in this step, what is the next step, what is the next step, and what are we going to do all around. I have an example with doctors in a hospital, or actually surgeons in a hospital. Surgeons know that the hygiene, that washing their hands, washing their arms, packing themselves up in this surgical equipment is very, very important. And they are doing it again and again and again. Every day is their work. A hospital in America made a checklist that these surgeons should follow. When the surgeons started to follow the checklist, despite them being experts, despite them having done this for years, they found that there were less complications, there were less infections, and there was a higher success rate of the operations. Just because sometimes we forget. So having a process and a checklist is a phenomenal way of making sure you're delivering the right thing every time. So my recommendation would be to follow a framework and use automation to the maximum. If you, for instance, are promised them a cheat sheet, or you promised them something that could be delivered really quickly, you could probably automate it so it is delivered to them via email or a link or something immediately. You also, for automation, if you're selling products on, say, Amazon, you probably have fulfilled by Amazon option, which means you're shipping your goods to Amazon's warehouse, and then they will pick and pack and ship for you. And well, technically, I don't know if they're using automation or humans. To my knowledge, they're using a lot of robots. But for you, it's automation. You're paying somebody to make it an automated process for you. And the more you can do things like that, the better you can make sure the quality is in order and the speed is in order. So coming back to this results, effort, and timeline for the customer. So flawless fulfillment framework is teaching you how to do this, what you should be aware of, and how to do it right. But this pillar, the perform pillar, is probably where you already shine. So this would just be tweaking what you're already doing to make it even better. Core business areas: protect, or as I say now, protect and pamper your patrons. Let's jump into it. Protect is the last of the 4 operational pillars. This is critical for success. Let's jump into it. So protect and pamper your patrons means that you can keep them for life. Because satisfied customers, those that got what you promised them, are worthless, whereas loyal customers are priceless. The quest to convert customers to priceless partners is a path of stellar service, proactively ascend them to lifetime loyal partners, and constantly prove that they made the perfect choice in buying from you, using your services and products. And why is that important? Well, it's important because it gives increased customer satisfaction. You get more referrals, you get more testimonials, you get better testimonials. You also get a bigger wallet share. A story I have from Beatles is they wanted a new swimming pool. So they just made a new album because then their fans would buy the album and then they had money for a swimming pool. You see, also raving fans tell everybody about you and they buy everything you sell, like the Beatles fans. So the more you can give a stellar experience and wow your customers, you can convert them into priceless partners that will work on your behalf by spreading the word, by giving you good testimonials, by perhaps even be your ears and eyes out in the field. The better you can keep them for life, the better you can keep selling them things. This is, of course, particularly important if you're selling subscriptions. Say you're a phone company and you're selling subscriptions. If you're selling subscriptions to people and you keep giving them a good service, a good quality, they might be customers for life. But if you give them a crap service, they might be looking across the road to one of your competitors. Many years ago, I had a customer who was a really good customer of mine. I had 15 consultants working with me, and 5 of them were working for this particular customer, doing things for this customer. And the customer was kind of my extended office in the sense that when a competitor would come with an offer to the customer, they would send it to me. They would let me know what my competitors were up to because they were so loyal, they were so happy with the services they got from us that they just wanted to help us stay in business and win more customers because they were so over thrilled. We even had them as a reference customer, which meant that new prospects leads could go to their site and see what we had done for them so that they could learn from them and talk to them from a real customer, not from us, not us telling how good we are, but our customers telling how good we are. This is the value of pampering your patrons. This is the value of creating priceless partners. And this is why you should incorporate this in your business, because it is much easier to sell to an existing customer that are happy, and you will get so much more benefit from it. Even your employees will be more happy because it's nice to work with customers that are happy. And loyal, raving fan customers stay with you forever and tell everybody about you. So this is what I had to say at this point in time about protect and pamper your patrons. Core business areas profit. It's very simple. Either you profit or you close. So let's look at how to make an extreme earnings engine. The profit area is working on your business. It's about optimization. And this is one of the most critical areas you can have in your business. But it doesn't make sense to go here until you actually have some flow, until there are some leads, some customers, some sales, and so forth. So let's go into what it takes. You see, without profit, a business is a short-lived hobby. Lack of profits is the reason that more than 95% of all businesses in the world that fail. Starting and growing a profitable business isn't easy because it requires knowledge, precision, monitoring, and constant adjustments. Because the market changes, the customer changes, the needs and wants changes, competitors come and go, new products see the market, some technology become obsolete. Nowadays there is something called a Kodak moment. Originally a Kodak moment was something you wanted to capture on an instant camera. Kodak made instant cameras. But nowadays we all have a mobile phone. So Kodak is dead. So the point again is there are constant adjustments. You need to adjust to the market and the changes in technology and preferences in order to stay in business. So to make an extreme earnings engine, what you need to understand is business financials, business basics, and the rules of the game. when you're in business, what are the rules you need to follow to make money, to optimize your business, to stay in business? You need to know and utilize the Pareto principle so that you can become more productive, so you can become more efficient, so you have an advantage over competitors, and so that you can do more with less. This also means that you need to know the vital signs in your business. If you go to the doctor will say, what is your blood pressure? What is your pulse? What are the vital signs you have? In a similar way, there are vital signs in any business. The vital signs are slightly different from business to business. It's called KPIs, or key performance indicators. And there are different key performance indicators that can be relevant for you or not. But in order to learn something about that, in order to optimize, you need to have numbers and you need to track them. You also need to know what they mean and what you can do to make them different or better. In that process, you can optimize your systems and your processes and your business. So to do this, you will need to start monitoring and tracking everything you do. Well, not everything you do, but all the critical points. So if you have seen the video about marketing, for instance, I'm saying in the old days, half your marketing budget was wasted and you wouldn't know which one. So because you didn't know which one, you would keep your marketing budget. But nowadays, with online marketing, you can track very specifically what works and what doesn't. Now, optimizing your business is similar. You need to know what you're doing in order to know, and then you need to know if it works or not. And if it doesn't work, you need to change it. So you need to have numbers and you need to track your numbers. But you don't need to track everything because that would require a lot of effort, and it's not everything that is equally important. More specifically, what I teach my students is a system I call the simple success system, where there are kind of 5 main areas where you can go in and you can optimize. And each of these 5 areas have some sub areas, but all of them lead back to the vital signs, and there are different vital signs for different businesses. So to summarize this, profit is really important for you to stay in business and for business to be fun for you. The more you can work on your business, the more you can improve your business, the more fun it becomes, the more people you can help, the more people you can employ, if that is a goal for you. So focus on creating an extreme earning engine.